It's a Monday morning. Welcome to a brand new week. Welcome to Mansfield Today. As usual, on a Monday, we take a look at things business, courtesy of Capital Legacy, your number one partner in wills and estate management. And as usual, we're joined by business journalist Chris Gibbons. Chris, good morning to you. I see a bit of business and morality intersecting here as companies are mulling whether or not to compel employees to vaccinate.
Good morning, Jeremy. Yes, business, morality and constitutionality, in fact. All of this as a result of Discovery's announcement that it will go this route and expect all its staff to be vaccinated by the beginning of next year. Discovery CEO Adrian Gore says it's a moral imperative, given that the company has lost upwards of 14,000 clients and over 200 staff members to COVID. Discovery joins a number of big American firms making vaccination compulsory. Goldman Sachs, the giant investment bank, among the latest to do so.
But can a company go this route, Chris? I mean, legally,
Adrian Gore says Discovery has taken legal advice, Jeremy, and the answer is yes, it can do this. A couple of other big-name CEOs, however, say their legal advisors are advising against it. They're saying no, that this would conflict with an individual's constitutional rights here in South Africa. Health Minister Dr. Joe Parkler says companies need to think very carefully about this, but he has also confirmed the government is thinking about making vaccination mandatory. And I've seen reports that suggest that access to public events might be limited to just the vaccinated. That's being done in certain European countries, as I'm sure you're aware. France, for example, has a digital pass, Sunny Pass, as they call it, which you have to show to be able to access bars, cafes, restaurants, museums, all that sort of stuff. President Ramaphosa has also said, yes, employees can refuse vaccination, but rights have limits. And there's one local wag I saw on Twitter, Jeremy, suggesting that if you want South Africans to get vaccinated, you have to just deny them access to the booze shops and the soccer stadiums until they do.
Has the Department of Labour issued any sort of guidelines along this?
Yes, they are saying you can implement an all staff to be vaccinated policy, but with certain provisos. In essence, if you announce such a policy and an employee says, no, I'm not going to be vaccinated for whatever reason, then you have to offer that employee counselling, which means a conversation with a doctor or a trade union representative or similar, and you would then have to try and move that person to a position in which he or she has no contact with either the public or with other staff members. Sounds a little bit tricky to me, but they also stop short of saying, well, look, if that person still refuses a vaccine, you can fire them. My guess is that this could well wind up in the Constitutional Court, your right as an individual to refuse a vaccination versus your duty not to run around infecting other people. One thing's for sure, whatever is decided, government needs to roll out a digital vaccination certificate as a matter of priority, and also make sure that it's fraud-proof.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. I mean, my little slip of paper that I was given last week when I got my second jab, I had visions of arriving when we can travel to places like the UK, and somebody in the UK sitting and looking at this and saying, what the hell is this? This means nothing. You could have done this on your laptop. So, yeah.
Interestingly, I'm traveling to Germany in 10 days' time. And in fact, I'll be reporting in a fortnight's time for mansfieldtoday.com from Germany. And the German embassy website here in South Africa says the normal South African vaccination card, the thing that you're describing, which I've got as well, that is going to be acceptable in Germany as proof of vaccination. I'll believe that when I actually get to the border and they let me in.
And get through. Yeah. Let's go back to Discovery, because purely on the business side, Discovery seems to be under pressure, Chris.
No question about it. As Adrian Gore was delivering the mandatory vaccination news, Jeremy, he was also delivering Discovery's annual results. No dividend because of pressure from COVID-19, and that's despite a very strong profit, 3.22 billion rand for the year to end June, which is up 1,730% How about that number? On the previous year's 176 million. Headline earnings per share up 910% from 45 cents last year to 454.7 cents this year. So what's behind this no dividend? Well, Gore talks about uncertainty flowing from the pandemic, but he's also warning that a rights issue might be on the card because they need 1.5 billion rand to fund their Chinese business, Ping An Health, as I believe it's called, Ping An Health Insurance. And he also almost certainly has a weather eye on Discovery Bank, which lost just under 1.1 billion rand in the fiscal year. Now, that's to be expected when you roll out a new bank, but there's an old saying, yeah, a billion here, a billion there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. A sharp twist in China, a misstep at the bank, an uptick in COVID-related expenses. I think Discovery is simply being prudent here. Shareholders won't like it, but you know what? A strong war chest in these very turbulent times is an extremely sensible thing to have in your locker.
Yeah, absolutely. I see Naspers and subsidiary Process are making this is a massive bet that they're making on India.
Huge. And just to remind everyone, Jeremy, Process is the spin-off from Naspers, designed to hold its internet interests, including the big stake in China's Tencent. Process listed in Amsterdam. Naspers still controls it, of course, through a 75% shareholding. Now, we know, as we've been reporting here, that Tencent has been taking strain from new rules and regulations issued by Beijing. And as any investment advisor worth their salt will tell you, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Diversification is the key. So a while back, Naspers sold a couple of percent of Tencent to free up some cash and went shopping. And they have just now spent $4.7 billion US, that's 68.7 billion rand, thereabouts, on Indian payments business BillDesk. Process is already in India through an online education platform called Baiju and a food delivery company called Swiggy. But the purchase of BillDesk more than doubles the size of its payments business, and it's also Process's biggest ever acquisition by some distance.
Was it a good deal? I mean, will it work? What's your opinion on this one?
Well, it was a very expensive deal, Jeremy, as you've pointed out. That I can promise you. BillDesk had previously been valued at just $1 billion US. Its three founders each scoop $500 million for their pains. They founded the company in the year 2000. It's the largest player in the utilities bill payment sector. Will it work? Well, India is a notoriously difficult place to do business in, culturally as much as anything, but also because India's top businessmen are just so damn smart. But here's the thing, Chris Becker learnt the hard way with Tencent in China. First time around, he sent a team of South African businessmen there to run the operations, and they got eaten for breakfast. Short and simple, it cost Naspers a tidy sum of money. But Becker didn't give up. He went straight back in, this time put Chinese managers in charge, different culture, different work ethic, and the rest, as they say, is history. And as long as that kind of approach is followed in India at BillDesk, and why wouldn't it be? Then I think the acquisition has every chance of success. Will it turn out to be as big as Tencent? I'd be very surprised if it did. That was a once-in-a-lifetime bet, but there's no reason why it shouldn't be highly successful.
Top international story at the moment, a poor set of employment figures in the US. And that's had a bit of a knock-on effect here too, Chris?
Yeah, these are the so-called non-farm payrolls. Non-farm payrolls which come out on the first Friday of every month in the US. They measure the number of jobs added or lost in the US economy over the last month, excluding the farming industry. They're watched very closely. Any significant change has a direct influence on the US dollar and on bond yields in the United States. So this time around, August, experts have been expecting about 733,000 new jobs to have been added. Instead, the number was a mere 235,000. Nonetheless, it is the 8th consecutive month of growth in the US economy, and it follows some very large gains earlier in the year, so definitely they're on the right track. The dollar dropped a cent just prior to the release of the numbers, 1.19 to the euro, and that's where it is this morning. But the greenback is still 4 cents up on the start of the year. Key impact likely to be on what we were talking about here last week, tapering, shorthand for when the US Federal Reserve will start to scale back its bond buying program. This latest non-farm payrolls report likely to be something of a dampener on those plans, I think. Experts say a tapering announcement now might happen end of this year, more likely early next year.
Now, you said this also has a local effect.
Yeah, the local effect is the dollar is easing. The dollar's easing is helping the rand. 14.31 to the dollar. We were on Friday evening, up nearly 1%. This morning, 14.33. So holding those gains. We saw similar gains against both the euro and the pound. The easy money taps staying open just a little bit longer mean interest rates will stay low in the US. And that in turn means investors can borrow in dollars to invest in higher yielding currencies elsewhere. The Turkish lira doing well at the moment, the Russian ruble doing well, and of course the rand, as we have seen. We also saw gold and platinum both ticking up. Gold in particular has struggled this year with the global economic recovery introducing the prospect of central banks cutting back on stimulus measures. Whether or not gold can hold those gains, well, I think that to a large extent will depend on what happens with US bond yields.
Chris, just before I let you go, it looks like that business we call football, as a result of the pandemic, has changed, perhaps forever.
Jeremy, yes, absolutely. This last week saw the closing of what's known as the transfer window, the 3-month period in Europe when clubs can buy and sell players. I'm sure you saw some of the big headlines. Lionel Messi leaving Barcelona for PSG, Paris Saint-Germain. Cristiano Ronaldo leaving Juventus for Manchester United. Jack Grealish moving to Manchester City, £100 million, making him the most expensive English player ever. Paris Saint-Germain have a €200 million bid by Real Madrid for Kylian Mbappe turned down. All fairly predictable, I think, in many respects, but it's worth looking a little bit closer because first, the amount spent on transfer fees, according to consultancy Deloitte, is down €250 million compared to last year. That's just €3 billion, and sharply down on the pre-pandemic €5.5 billion 2019. This means all the clubs are suffering. No fans has meant a big drop in income. But some clubs have debt mountains. Think Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, while others have very wealthy owners with almost unlimited reserves. Think Manchester City, Chelsea, Paris Saint-Germain, and add Manchester United to the last three. They have an owner with very deep pockets, but not unlimited in the way of the other three, but is a club which has been very, very well run with an extremely diverse set of income streams. Barcelona alone owes over €1 billion. Think about that, €1 billion. And they don't have Messi anymore. And they've also been selling other top players as fast as they can get rid of them. Run all of this together, and it's clear, I think, that the balance of power in European football has swung away from the traditional powerhouses like Real Madrid and Barcelona and towards the financially independent and very, very wealthy Manchester City, Manchester United, Paris Saint-Germain, and Chelsea. Those are the names to listen out for in the coming years. Not just this season, in the coming years.
Well, there you have it. Not just your business, but your sports report as well, courtesy of Chris Gibbons. Lovely to have you with us, Chris. We'll catch up with you again next week. And Chris, as usual, comes to you courtesy of Capital Legacy, your #1 provider of wills and estate management. Thank you for joining us. If you did enjoy it, then press the subscribe button. But we'll catch you next week for Business with Chris once again. Goodbye.